Good afternoon, everyone. Please call this order. Public Utilities Commission at 4:30. Please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any public input? On the agenda? Okay. Any other correspondence come in? I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 11th as submitted. Are there any additions or deletions on it? I just found one word that I probably needs to be changed. On the second page, talked about the power washing of the pumping stations, and it had laterals that should have been probably buildings or something. But we didn't power wash the laterals. What I saw. Any other? All those approve the amended minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. The financial report.
So, 2 months in, the revenue came through because of the billing month, so they're both in a surplus position. The only thing that, after Tom reviewed it, noticed that we put in water, 98,856 purchase bidding loans and grants is really a sewer payment from the state. So that's been corrected, but it's already filed, so you'll see that move in the next financials. Otherwise, everything's looking good. Obviously, we're only 2 months into the year, so there's not a ton of activity. I did, as an aside, I did reach out to the city of Danbury yesterday. I haven't heard back yet from their finance director or acting finance director, I guess, about when the sewer project, the sewer treatment plant is supposed to be done. I was trying to get an update on that because at some point we'll have to go out and bond that money. So hopefully by the next meeting I'll have something, but we're tracking it. I know there's, I think last time I went by there, they're still working on it.
Yeah.
And the plan with Danbury when Bob Kozlowski was here was once all the work was done, then each town was gonna have to come up with their piece of it for the sewer plant, so. But obviously we don't want to be blindsided and suddenly they call up and say, we need our 17 million or whatever, 15 million, so. I will work with him on that.
I'll reach out to Dave
Yeah.
and try to get an update on the construction and where they're at.
We had talked about there's some money in some old accounts or something that you were gonna pull that together.
Yeah, so sewer's been in the black for a while, so when we get closer to figuring out like how much to bond.
Yeah.
My thought is we're gonna take whatever cash assets the sewer has and not bond the whole thing.
Right, right.
Say there's 6 million or I don't know, 5 million. Probably wanna keep a little bit there in case something pops up, but there's no point paying interest on, once you have money in the bank.
Right.
So we'll take a net of whatever we need to do and immediately pay down whatever portion we get.
It's near that dollar
I
amount.
believe so. I think it was like 6 million last financial audit.
Oh,
was.
well, that's good news.
Um, so, and that goes back to when the water and sewer rates split, which what was that, Rich, like 10 years
Oh,
ago now? I think
longer
it's right around
than that,
that.
probably longer than that.
So,
That was before we started, so that's 13, 15 years ago.
yeah, because I don't think the board has increased the sewer rates since the split, because sewer's been in a good position.
I don't think so.
On page 3, there's 3 things that don't look like they're tracking well. Chemical supplies, water, surface pumping, maintenance and hydrant maintenance are all well above 1/6 of the year. We anticipate these slowing down.
We get the orthophosphate, we get it like twice a year.
For the chemicals.
Right.
I figure, okay.
So the chlorine we get throughout the year, and that's a smaller number, but the other chemical we get like 2 times a year, so it takes a big chunk. So that's not gonna continue to grow like that every month.
Okay. About the maintenance, hydrant and service lines.
So it looks like as of the report time, it's been spent 8,300 of the 15,000. You were doing a lot of hydrant work in July, I thought.
We did a couple of times.
So that was construction related, that was their bill.
Yeah, I think that because we got a separate line item for hydrants.
Yeah.
That's what it was, yeah.
They did 2 or 3 for you?
Yeah. Yeah, off of, in Elgin, not Elgin, Wally. One at the top of Milwaukee. I think there was one more. But yeah, there were hydrants.
So that's not gonna track like that every month either. And the other one was what, the service lines?
Service line.
Yeah, we've already had probably 3 or 4
Yeah.
repairs. And I'm noticing the cost of those repairs now are starting to
After
creep
a
up.
leak survey, a few of them popped up. I think we've got like 4 pop up in July.
Yeah, and when they're in the state road, they're worth more money too.
Yeah,
right? Because of stuff you gotta put back in there.
And cost of fuel and cost of, you know, so supplies and all that going up.
Hopefully we don't have any more leaks.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to gauge that line item, so I try to look at the prior year and keep it around what we spent.
Any other comments?
Everything else looks like it's pretty much. where it should be.
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial report as submitted. All in favor? Invoices next. Have invoices in the total amount of 31,000. No, that's wrong. That was,
That was the, yeah.
yeah. Thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve the invoices in the total amount of $22,482.83. Take a minute to look at them. Any questions on the invoices? All in favor? Aye. Passes. Next on the agenda is 48 Stony Hill Road sewer allocation.
Yeah, I asked Rock Edmond, who's the engineer for the project with SLR, to come in and give us a brief presentation. This was, it's actually already been through wetlands and planning and zoning. It's the property that's out in front of Copper Square.
It's Rubino's old property, is that what we're talking about, the paved parking lot? out
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So it's a mix of residential units and a couple of commercial buildings. So sewer allocation, if it's greater than, I think if it's greater than 2,500 gallons per day, it needs approval from the commission. So Rock has his plan and he has his calculations for the sewer allocation to present.
Beautiful. For the record, Rock Evans, Associate Civil Engineer with SLR International Corporation, formerly Milo Approved, out of Cheshire, Connecticut, 99 Drifty Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut. Here on behalf of Upstream Properties 2, on the screen is a aerographic from the town's GIS system. As you can see, the site itself is along Route 6, Stony Hill Road, directly in front of the Copper Square property. As it stands today, the property is practically abandoned. It's mostly a paved parking lot, as indicated earlier, as well as there is a cut-through driveway that goes to Copper Square. The only reason I make that comment is that there is a existing water main that goes from Stony Hill Road through the existing access drive to Copper Square. Additionally, with Copper Square being there, there is a existing sanitary that kind of goes from this manhole right here, which then bisects the property to around here and then goes off to Route 6. Easier to look at is the
It goes out to Route 6?
correct.
Yeah.
So, and I'll get closer to the screen, that way I can articulate it a little easier. So there's an existing manhole that goes around here. It hooks over here and then out to Route 6. And I believe there's some, maybe it's a pump station or something here, or located along Route 6.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah, on the
close.
other side of the road.
Pretty
Yeah,
close.
which would make perfect sense because they're trying to get downhill as fast as possible. So one of the site plan modifications that we made per a comment that we got from Tom was that the line that was going here would be completely removed and it would be rerouted around this building. To go back to what the actual proposal is, there are 5 buildings total, approximate, well, I guess not approximately, but there's 137 units, residential units, with approximately 9,600 square feet of retail space. The retail space is spread between buildings A and B on the screen, and the rest is completely residential. So the main building, we're looking to build first, and then I believe they're going to go with building B, then building B, and the 2 mixed-use spaces will be last in the sequence. Existing today, which is easier to see on the utility plan here, and I apologize if this is kind of hard to read, but there's an existing sanitary main that almost bisects the existing wetland. One of the reasons that we went to wetlands was because we had activity within the upper review, as well as we're tying in these 2 buildings to that existing sanitary main, which then goes to Route 6, which then goes to the pump station. Additionally with that, there's the existing pond, which had an upland review. And because we're going to be removing that pipe as well as rerouting the sanitary around there to get back to the pipe discharge for both us as well as Copper Square, these 3 buildings will be tied into that main, which will then go to the pump station. Based on the town of Bethel's calculation criteria, we're looking at a sewer allocation of $23,320 for the total property, which includes the 137 units and the approximately 9,606 square feet of retail space, which the retail space will be on the first floor of both these 2 buildings.
When you say retail, it's
Or I would articulate it as commercial space.
commercial. If restaurants go in there, does that raise the
So
allocation?
we're not looking for a restaurant to go in there, at least at this time. If there was a restaurant that would come in here, we'd have to come back to planning and zoning to ask for a slight modification because every retail or restaurant space would need grease trap.
Yeah.
And one of the, the certain criteria, at least by Wright Pierce, is that the grease trap would have to be appropriate size, and that would have to just go back and forth with the Wright Pierce, who's the, I guess, the reviewing engineer for the town. So
Okay.
if that were the case, we would be coming
Okay.
back. But at this time, there's no restaurant proposed.
How does that affect us up in that area in terms of remaining a lot?
Okay, so this all flows towards the Payne Road metering station. We have in the bank at this point, we started out with a bank of 125,000 gallons back in 2016. And we're currently at 120,257. And they're looking with this project for 23,320.
And also to look back on history, this was a previously approved project. This previously approved project did have a sewer allocation, which I don't know if I was able to find the exact number, but I don't know if Tom was able to find the exact number as well. But there was 60,000 square feet of retail space and 60 units at that time, which would be approximately 3/4 of what our determined flow would be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was unaware of the past project, so I'm not sure what it previously may have gotten and whether it was here to get an approval on the
Yeah.
allocation.
The 23 is inclusive of the retail as well.
Correct. Yes, all encompassing for the project.
Unless you switch to restaurants.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Yeah,
Maybe.
no, it
Could
could-
happen.
yeah.
I mean, it's not. you know.
The total bedroom count is 226, and we use 100 gallons per bedroom per day. So that's a 22,600 of that total is the residential bedrooms. Informally, I've looked at a couple of developments and the actual usage seems to be somewhat less than what we have as an allocation. So I'm not recommending changing the allocation number, but the real number may actually turn out to be less than 100 gallons per bedroom.
You know what the original allocation was that was approved by the commission?
I don't know when that project might have come through and
December 2013, I believe.
It's probably when Copper Square was.
Yeah, I remember.
Well,
Yeah, they were-
I remember the whole plan. They were gonna have
Yeah.
a bunch of storefronts. and
Yeah.
everything.
And those have restaurants as well.
But there were less apartments at the time. so,
Right.
Yeah.
I guess my only concern, and I'm gonna defer to your expertise, I mean, we have a lot of development going on up there. What do we do if we hit our max usage? I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of development. I mean, there's other things in the plan, what happens? I mean, because this is taking approximately, 1/5 of what we have left.
Yeah.
So,
now, if you remember too, the bank that was established was 50% of our remaining allocation. So
Oh,
I-
so
I-
there's still some.
so there's almost 250.
correct. So they
Okay.
set up a bank at 50%. And I think the idea at the time, again, before my time, but I think the idea at the time is when we got closer to that number, all right, we got to sharpen our pencil here and, if we have to make some adjustments at that point.
Do you have any concerns about releasing this amount? I mean, you're the guy who's in control of it.
I don't at this point. I know there's another big development that's towards the Newtown line, similar in size, I think.
That's in the planning process.
Yeah, I think they withdrew that.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
You're talking about the 200 units. they were
Yeah,
proposing.
Behind Big Y.
a lot of the Route 6, and I haven't gotten a chance to finalize with Beth some of the undeveloped parcel. Stony Hill didn't have a lot more that could be converted. I think the idea with that, they're not in the TOD zone, but they're in another kind of zone that can allow them a little bit more dense development. But I don't think there was a lot of property there. Now, of course, we also have our remaining properties that haven't connected, but I think they've already been included.
Included. in the
Right.
The
allocation.
residential property.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. The assessed properties.
And there was always, Brian, there was always talk about going back to the city of Danbury because we have like 1 million gallons left or 750,000 down on Paul Street that we could reallocate the differences.
Wall Street Bank, allocation was 1.33, I think. We had a bank left, then we took 50%, and we have about 172,000 in the bank. So there's probably another reserve on top of that.
The Paul Street, we only have that less.
Again, we set a bank up of, I think, 175,000, was that the? So again, that was like 50% of what we had. So I think we had 350 available at the time.
I guess it's good we didn't get Brookfield 2 million.
Yeah,
The other number I'm seeing, when I got here in 2018, I was seeing Paul Street, often over 1 million a day. We seem to be in the 700, upper 700s, low 800s.
In terms of usage.
in terms of the actual, what we're sending down the line.
And you're taking that reading from water use, or you're actually taking,
No, the discharge line off the pump is metered.
so was that partly because you guys did all the smoke tests and repaired and tried to stop the water from getting into the system?
I think that'd be.
That would be some of it, yeah, because I think we picked off some of the bigger
The bigger
sections.
leaks.
The big area was plum trees.
And are these all apartments or are these for sale?
No, these will be apartments.
So I'm going to continue as we go forward, trying to carve out like the residential developments, like a Bethel Meadows, say on Reservoir and Copper Square. I can kind of look at all the water usage and what we're actually billing out off of those individual meters. And I'll continue to kind of keep track of numbers where here's the total flow divided by the number of units or the number of bedrooms, so that we maybe going forward have a better idea of what those allocation numbers should be. But at this point, go with 100 gallons per bedroom per day.
All right, so we're looking for, what's the, they're looking for the 23 out of the bank, but what's the total allocations?
They're looking for a total allocation of 23,320 gallons per day.
What do they need out of the bank? Because they had an allocation there before, so there's going to be a differential.
Well, it didn't get built, so
Yeah, but was it allocated before is what I'm asking.
I looked at it as vacant. I didn't look to see if we had previously allocated a number for that property.
So when you
Yeah,
built the
yeah.
bank, he just figured that this was a vacant lot.
I took it as there was a zero grandfathered flow, that would get subtracted. Because
Well,
whatever.
we can approve it, but I like to go back and look at the history of it, and maybe it's not what it is.
Was this a resubmittal because you guys didn't build within 5 years of approval, so you had a recent, so it was a modified request?
So the original approval was, I think, by Tony's, and then this parcel was sold to my client in 2020. And,
2021.
but it took time for us to put the plans
I'm
together.
very familiar with the transaction,
Oh,
so,
okay.
all right, so I kind of know what was going on. My only concern is not with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I just think that, planning and zoning should have spoken to us first rather than, for them to approve a project. I mean, we're kind of, our hands are tied now. They have full approval, and what are we gonna do? Say
Yeah.
no?
Yeah, there was.
Because we would have been able to answer all these questions, like, all right, we'll stick to the original allotment,
Right,
And
that's
we're
all I
fine.
could do.
and we're fine with it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would appreciate it if you would just have a conversation.
Well,
You know,
there-
say that.
Hey.
Yes, Marty, you got something?
Yeah, I wanted to address what Brian said. And I will say this goes back to the previous planner. We've always had this problem, Brian. And one of the things that basically this commission in a nice way was told is that it's your problem. We're going to go ahead and approve the stuff where the sewer comes from or the water comes from. It's up to you to decide what to do and how to get it. And like I said, that's basically what the previous planner said, not the current planner, but it's always been a problem. And can I ask a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
First thing with Tom. Tom, are you, when you compare the allocation in the banks that we have, do you actually compare it to what our actual numbers are that go to Danbury? Have you?
Well, what I've been doing, the flows, for instance, Payne Road, our allocation there is 590,000. We set up a bank. I don't really look at that. I mean, our number from Payne Road has been on the order of like 225, just as a round number, 230,000 gallons per day. 100,000, 230,000 gallons per day. When I look at the bank, I look at the bank that we established in 2016, and then we've kept a running spreadsheet of all the projects that we've approved along the way and subtracted that from the bank amount to come up with our current balance. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
I'm not sure if that answered my question. My question basically is, do you compare the actual usage with what's left in the bank at some point? I mean, because what could happen is, you know, we made the assumption, I should say the commission made the assumption 4 or 5 years ago that we had this amount in the bank that we could use. Well, if it turns out, if more of it is being used and going to Danbury than what it turns out to be, then we need to readjust our banks, bring them back to a level that we're more comfortable with. So I don't know how you can do that without knowing exactly what's flowing to Danbury.
I think the way I'll do that is we kind of started down the path when Brookfield requested some allocation. And at that point, I haven't finalized, but I've indicated we're going to look at our system and see what our current usages are to figure out what do we have left over. And in effect, that would be comparing that to the bank, Marty.
Yeah, can't you just ask, you've got the comptroller there, the comptroller pays the bill. Can't you just ask what the bill was, which translate into, the dollars translate into gallons?
We can look at the old bills. Tom has them too. Because they bill that on flow, right? There's other pieces in it, I thought too, but I think flow is one of the.
Flow is the main one, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So our
Okay.
bill goes up and down, is what you're saying.
Yeah, depending on.
Yeah,
the-
sure it does.
But I think, yeah, we could take a look at what's been totally allocated, Tom, versus
Yeah.
what the actual yearlies have been.
And to answer your question too, Marty, I have looked at the Payne Road flow meter to see what we're doing actually doing compared to what we have as an allocation with Danbury. So I know that the bank amount, we have more available to us than the bank that we established.
That's what I'm trying to,
And the answer to that is yes. I don't have some exact numbers. The thing I really need to do is go back, figure out what we're doing today, compare it to what we were doing in 2016, because that's the number that established the bank, basically.
right.
So I'm working towards that.
I would assume the allocations that, like, the properties like this are conservative. So you should be coming in under it for the most part, so. But
You know what happens when we assume things, right?
Yeah.
I know, but since Tom's looking at how much we're supposed to be sending out this map, what's been allocated,
Well-
versus what the actual is.
To what you just said, Brad, that's why I've been looking at, for instance, Copper Square is right next door.
Right.
I've added up all 136 meters, come up with a total divided by the number of units, divided by the number of bedrooms, to kind of then see what they're actually using compared to what we have as what we require for an allocation.
Now, in this new design, is there meters? So we know exactly what they're using. Isn't there a water meter?
So you
No,
can
no,
make water
sewer-
meters
sewer.
in, but there's no sewer meters.
Yeah, you meter the water lines.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but we meter the sewer. We have meters on sewer lines.
No, we,
Well, yeah.
the
pump
pump
station.
Pump station.
oh, correct, yes.
So is there a meter on that pump station right across the street from it?
Stony one.
No.
I'm
No,
not,
it's only downstream where it goes into
we
Danbury.
have at the end of the line on
Should
Route
there be
6.
A meter,
We could have meters everywhere. We don't have meters everywhere.
because this is a big allocation.
Yep.
Well, you get the water reading off of the
But I'll
domestic
know what
water.
they're using based on the water meter. We're gonna get the water meter information from Aquarian. That's how we bill out the sewers. So we'll get those numbers.
And there's only one meter that we have to worry about, that's the Payne Road Station. That's before it hits Danbury. That's everything that comes off of phase 1, 2, and 3 of Stony Hill.
Right.
And Route 6 and Old Olive. The only one that doesn't go through that one is what goes down into Berkshire.
Right,
which is
Berkshire.
somewhat-
But going forward, if you think about it, you have a meter at the end of the line.
Yeah.
And so when we have a problem, when we think we have intrusion, we have zero ability to break that into sections.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think I'm
Yeah,
getting at. is,
Yeah.
Should we be looking at breaking it into sections? And
Yeah.
would this be the opportunity to put it here?
Not really, because well, at our pump station, yes, you really can't meter what's coming off this property.
Yeah.
Right. But the other point related to that is when you add up the water bills, not all of that made its way to the sewer. So again, there's a little bit more
Right,
conservative.
if I've got 4 lines coming into Wall Street, and we think we have a problem, we have to look at all 4 lines. There's no way to break it apart.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is, should we
Yeah.
be talking about ways to give us more troubleshooting ability?
Mhm.
Can I ask a question to Marty?
Yes, sure.
And listen, I feel bad for you coming in here right now,
Right.
23,000 gallon request, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
You know, the last project came in first and requested 2,300 gallons before they went, before planning and zoning, so they knew they had it set.
And I'll let you ask your question, but we did have communications about that and we kind of lost.
Yeah, so I had submitted.
Track of
plans and
each other.
everything in December last year.
Yeah.
Because what I do is when I see the projects coming for P and Z, Marty, I don't wait for them to, once I know that there's a project in the hopper, okay? And Rock wanted to get on our agenda before he got to P and Z. And at that point, I suggested get into P and Z first, because they may change your layout. They may change, who knows what comments they may come up with, change the number of units. I like to see the project at least get to P and Z, and then I usually have them come here. So for the most part, Brian, most of the projects have gotten to us while they're still in the middle of P and Z and not having been yet approved. Somehow or other, I kind of relate to them, get to P and Z and then come back to me.
I guess
Yeah, that would be frustrating.
for me, it would just make sense to figure out what your sewer allotment is, because there'd be nothing worse than setting up all these plans and then having us vote it down, and now you have to redo all your plans.
No, it's true. So
I don't build a house without showing Eversource where I'm burying my power lines and everything. And it's just on small scale, right? Because I know how they can say, no, we don't like that. This is how you're doing it. So I want to know everything. I just think it would really make sense. And again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but it would really make sense for these projects to come to us first. Because say, you know, with the amount of building we have going, you have 6 of these projects come in. I was in first, I was in second, you know, and you approved it, and then you hit where you're at. I mean, it's just, you know, I'm glad we have more in the bank than you said, but I just really think it's kind of putting us in a very bad position as a commission to have full planning and zoning approval, all these approvals, and we might say, you know what, we don't think we have the sewage capacity, and I just think we got to figure out a way to stop that.
And that's why I like them to apply to P and Z, come before us. If we have an issue, it's still open with P and Z. We can relay that immediately. And so that we can work together before they get their approval.
On your plan before, what was the amount of apartments you call?
on the previous plan,
Previous plan,
2013,
yeah.
I believe it was 60 apartments.
60.
60, correct.
I just don't know what the allocation.
And
per-
then how many stores were there? Was there more stores at that time?
Wasn't it like 9 or something like that?
I think it was 40,000 square feet of retail,
And what are you having now?
9,600.
So you went down on the retail and up on the residential.
Correct.
And are these
And
all
then previously, there was also a restaurant as part of that.
Yeah.
previous approval.
Are these all 1 bedrooms?
Mix of 1-bedroom studios and 2-bedroom.
How many 2 bedrooms?
How many 2-bedroom?
There's 89 2-bedrooms.
2 bedrooms, and it's all in the last page, which has the breakdown of how we got to the 23,000 flow. So there's 2 studios, 46 1-bedroom, and 89 2-bedroom.
Can I address the commission?
Yes,
there,
sure.
Brian? And
Yeah.
I have another question of Tom as well, but Brian, I don't think Brian is off track, but I do think that the easiest thing to do is when they get a project like this, you know, usually there's a public hearing. And what they do is they send out notices to all the agencies that they want to hear from, right, before they finish having their public hearing. So it's all a matter of record. And I think the easiest thing would be is if they're going to have a public hearing on something like this, that all they've got to do is send a notice to public utilities and say, hey, We're gonna have a public hearing. Here are the plans. We need your comments for the public hearing.
Marty, they did.
Oh,
Correct.
And I
I gave
commented,
comments.
I commented technical comments on the application. Like I said, I had indicated to Rock, before you come here for a sewer allocation, at least get started with P and Z, then I'll have you back here.
And instead, what I believe what happened was, we took it as get, or you said get started, when we took it as get finished. So we went through P and Z, and then now we're just trying to fix, I guess, a misinterpretation.
All right, so would you say your project's 25% more than what it was
Most
originally?
previously approved. Yeah. I would say, well, I don't have the exact numbers on hand to back calculate into the previous retail space, but that sounds pretty accurate.
Okay, so they must have had an approval for 75% of this before, so he's actually looking for 25% more. You know, so maybe they were at 20%, they were looking at 18,000 gallons before. So now he's looking for an extra 6,000 gallons. Is what it breaks down.
Well, it depends on the calculations for the restaurants, because you've taken 2 restaurants out
Oh,
of the
right, yeah.
equation and replaced them with residential. So I don't, you would know more what the calculation, or you would know what the calculation.
I don't have the restaurants off the top of my head.
I believe the restaurants are more than retail space.
Yeah.
So if we were to take it as just straight up retail space, I'm fine with still saying that it's around 25%.
I mean, Richie, if it's okay with you, you know, I'd like to vote on this, but continue our discussion after we vote on this about the
Yeah,
allocation.
future allocation, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because, I mean, you know, again, this is no weighing in on your project. It came in, it is what it is, planning and zoning, but, you know, at some point, I mean, when are we not gonna be able to absorb these 130, 150 units? You know, not only is it an impact on the schools and traffic, but, you know, let's be honest, a lot of our infrastructure is old. And, you know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. You're an engineer, you would know. I would think the more usage it gets, do you know what I mean? The more repairs that are necessary and the more chances there are. And, you know, I just, you know, look, I'm gonna reluctantly vote yes for it, right? It's been approved by planning and zoning. I wish it had come to us before, because again, you know, as Public Utilities Commission, I mean, we have a responsibility to the town and, you know, to protect future development too. I mean, there's a lot of property owners in town who have the right to, you know, develop their property, and that there should be better guidelines for us in terms of, you know, I haven't been on the commission that long. I can't remember. Can you remember the last time you had a request for 23,000 gallons, Rich?
No.
That's a huge request.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're used to 300 gallons. We're
Yeah.
building, you know,
3,000.
yeah, 3,000 on something.
Yeah.
This is 23,000.
600 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. You
All
know,
right, I'll put a motion on the table that we approve the sewer allocation for 48 Stony Hill Road in the amount of 23,220 gallons,
320,
300.
23,320.
23,320. Second. Any other discussion on it? We discussed it already.
I don't feel good about it, just being honest with you. I don't
Well,
feel good about it.
Like you said, good thing we didn't give Brookfield anything.
No, that's exactly, this is the exact reason why.
Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time, come to us first.
Ignore what Tom tells you.
Oh,
Next time, because we'll remember.
All right.
That's the funny part. We would have been here early December, but even P and Z had us change some of the configuration. We moved buildings, fire marshal, all that, but no, I definitely appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, next on the new business consideration of Eversource access requests. Tom, I'll let you discuss it.
Yeah, I put this on, they have a project where they need to replace all of their wooden transmission poles. So they have about 26 in total, 15 of which are in Bethel, 8 of which are at our Chestnut Ridge Reservoir from that point to the town line. I think they were originally asking for like temporary easements to come down Webb Road off of Nashville Extension. So we had some concerns with that and we more or less kind of directed them towards their right of way where their lines come across Nashville Extension. They have a right of way. It's a little rugged, but we wanted them, instead of coming across our Webb Road and at the base of our dam, where we have the, the intake line going to the plant, and we also have like a blow-off line. Didn't want any heavy equipment traversing over that. So we met in the field. We thought that was the best place, and we all kind of came to the agreement. They'll agree to basically prepare their right of way to get themselves access to get to the poles, so they don't have to cross right at the base of our dam.
Are they agreeing not to extend the height of the poles? Have we asked the question about what height they're gonna do with these poles?
There was some conversation about that, depending on the elevations, they might have to adjust some pole lengths. But basically, they're replacing those old, here's the report, I just looked, the H-frame things, they're putting the same thing, they're not putting one monopole back up or anything like that.
So I had this on the agenda initially because I thought they would be coming in here looking for a temporary easement across our property, which then we would have to act upon. At this point, there's really no access or not access, but there's no easement required to come down across Webb Road. So they're going to basically stay within their right of way.
So noted.
Are they gonna do improvements to the trails back there on the right of way? Does it give them rights to, because that's used quite a bit by horseback and hikers. If you ever walk back there, it's pretty beautiful property back there.
They've got to, get the axe, like where their right of way comes off of Nashville Extension. They've got some significant, they got to cut the tall grasses and whatnot, and then they have to put, they call it matting.
Yeah, the cribbing.
They crib it over the wetland areas, exactly. So, and those are temporary. They're allowed to do those according to them on the wetlands.
But they're not gonna build a road.
No, I think they're from that point on, I think they just have to follow the road that's there.
There is a gravel road there.
Yes.
That's. it's just-
They'll improve it somewhat
Yeah.
so they can travel on it.
And they'll, I'm sure, they'll have to, seed it when they're done.
They'll remove all the cribbing and everything when they're all done.
Exactly,
Right, but we don't need to consider it. We
I-
already have a right of way.
correct.
I was surprised how cooperative they were, that we'll stay in our right of way.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot more work for them to go.
It's a lot more work for them.
Yeah.
One of the good things is they've got 8 other poles I think they could get at. So they're not gonna expend that effort just to get to the one pole that they could have maybe came across our property to get to, so.
Plus, they're not reinventing the wheel. They did this 12, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. The exact same thing when they put the wheel poles.
Yeah, I remember when they cut all the weeds down and you could pretty much walk anywhere.
I don't think there's any action we have to take on it.
No.
All right. And director's report.
Okay, a few things. Fleetwood Services, I thought we would have an update for you here. The best we did at least was we had a meeting with Tinker Construction and about another issue. We brought up the Fleetwood Services of being able to transfer them from the 4-inch main to the 8 and the 12. He indicated he'll get that on a schedule for us. Haven't seen it yet, but he thought he'd be available end of September. So I just sent out an email today trying to get an update on where he's at with it. So he understands what we're trying to do. We want to get all those services transferred over, before the snow flies, so that the ground can settle, the road can settle, and it's in a position to be improved next year. I got our, every 2 years, our dams need to be inspected, so I'm getting that scheduled for October. And then one last item, we were selected by EPA. They have something called the unregulated contaminant rule. Every 5 years, they want utilities to go out and monitor for various chemicals to see if they want to then basically, have restrictions on them and have them part of the monitoring plan. So this next one is got like 29 PFAS chemicals plus lithium. So they're normally the larger utilities, but I think they got some funding, so they're roping in small systems as well. Basically, they're going to pay for, we have to collect the samples,
Just gonna ask that.
we collect them, and then they're going to give us the shipping envelopes. They're going to cover all the lab work. As I looked a little bit more at it, it's about a year's worth of sampling. I think the surface water utilities have to do, 4 quarterly samples, and groundwater systems have to do 2 every 6 months. So we got about a year's worth of sampling at most on a quarterly basis. So we'll see what happens.
Did we get picked because of what happened last year when someone dumped something down in the sewer?
No, I think they just started picking a lot of the small systems. They had some funding available, which maybe there's this infrastructure law. PFAS has been getting a lot of,
What happens to us if we find out that we have problems? I mean, it doesn't sound like this is one you wanted to get picked for.
Well,
no,
we had some problems years ago. We had to correct it.
you're gonna have to correct it. So we've sampled for PFAS already. We got D-Tex on a couple of the PFAS items. Nothing that exceeded, you know, what their action levels are. But as the technology improves and they can monitor this stuff at smaller and smaller levels, the action levels are gonna get smaller and smaller. So, hopefully we just have them at trace amounts.
Job.
Already dealt with PFAS. Don't worry about it.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Kelly, you're up.
Oh, I got the capital stuff, capital
Oh.
projects.
All right.
I can give you some updates there. 2021 water mains, Guerrera mobilized a couple of weeks ago. They've been doing their paving. The sidewalks out here in front of the building. I think they've got most of the paving done. They got one more little section they got to do on South Street. So they should be wrapping that up here in the next, I would imagine, matter of days. On the Bergstrom well, again, I just want to kind of go over the schedule because I've already been asked again by the town clerk in terms of when we're going to have our referendum. So the way I'm looking at it is bid opening is September 22nd, which is a couple of weeks. We should get a recommendation from Wright Pierce after they review it in time for our next meeting. So I'm assuming our October meeting, we're in a position to, award a contract, contingent upon. Board of Selectmen meeting would be the following Monday, right? The 17th of October. Tuesday, sorry. Where then they could refer to Board of Finance if needed and set a special town meeting date, which I was looking at November 29th, which is like more than a couple of weeks after Election Day, because I guess the machines have to be held for a couple of weeks. So we're looking at a special town meeting on the 29th of November with a referendum of December 6th. And that's kind of the schedule I presented to you last time as well. But, so once we have the bids and we proceed, then we'll let the town clerk and everyone else register our voters, know what's going on with the referendum.
How many people pick up bids?
I didn't look prior to the in the field meeting we had. There was probably maybe 10 or 12,
yeah?
but they weren't all general contractors. Some of the subs picked them up. So I think there was at least 4 or 5 like general contractors. So the more the merrier as far as, getting us bids. On the SCADA project, we had our design workshop with Wright Pierce. going over the preliminary design report. So we've given them some more feedback. They'll get that finalized, and the next step will be to get something submitted to the health department and keep that project moving. For the Paul Street boiler, the Eversource installed the gas service all the way up to the building last week, I think it was, or the week of the 29th. Connecticut Combustion has filed the permits, and they're starting with ordering materials and getting ready. I have their bond, I have their insurance. So I left Dean a text just to see where he's at schedule-wise, but his previous was that he thought the boiler would be in Connecticut by about the September 10th. So he should probably be getting his hands on that relatively soon. The next phase of sewer construction, which again is going to be mostly a lining project along the railroad. We had our meeting with Metro North. That seemed to go pretty well. They were more than accommodating in terms of allowing us, to get a bypass going without having to jump through a million hoops. So, as we had good luck today with Eversource, I think we had pretty good luck with Metro North. They're going to let us take out a railroad tie and slip a piece of ductile iron pipe under the tracks, which then we can connect coming out of our bypass and then connect and make its way over to Paul Street. So we're still waiting for some more feedback from them. They sent me some plans on that section of rail line where they have underground electrical, because we have to, and luckily their electrical is like maybe 4 feet deep. So we're going to be able to slip our pipe, under the ties, but over the electrical. So it looks like that's all going to work. But we're waiting to get some more feedback from them in terms of other requirements, which then we will put in the contract so the contractor is fully aware and can give us a price based on the hoops he has to jump through to satisfy the railroad.
Yeah.
They'll have their safety class that they have to go through and all of that stuff.
I'm sure they'll have inspectors there.
Yeah, luckily, I don't think it's going to be a long project. It'll be relatively short to get the bypass. We may have more time setting up the bypass and breaking it down than it will to line the pipe. The next project we want to look at, and I presented this in the budget, was Clark Park 2. That station, is that the original, basically, Cal? So it needs some work. It needs a generator. It needs some pump upgrades. I wanted to just present what I think is the concept that we're thinking about right now. If you're familiar with what's out there, it's a little fenced in area, maybe 25 by 25. Basically, it had a generator and an electrical cabinet, and I think they built the structure over it.
It was originally all outside, then they built a shed over it. They added to the foundation and built a shed over it.
So what I'm thinking about doing is, well, we want to upgrade the wet well. So new pumps, rails, floats and transducers, a new control panel. I'm looking at demoing the building. The generator, I think, doesn't work. Demoing the generator, and instead of building a structure, a freestanding cabinet similar to what we have at Briarcliff Pump Station, similar to what we just did at the Chestnut Tank. So rather than a structure, have either one or possibly two cabinets that would house the electrical, the auto transfer switch, the pump controls, and the alarm panel, and then an outside generator with a weatherproof and a sound enclosure over it. So our thoughts were, we've been using Blake equipment for a lot of our pump station repairs, pumps, installs from them. We have a quote from them already for the wet well portion of it. We did pretty well with R&J Electric, who took care of Paul Street, the generator, and they did a real good scheme with being able to give us temporary power. We had a shutdown that lasted maybe 10 minutes while they, undid the electrical and hooked up the temporary generator. So they were pretty good. So our thought was use Blake, use R&J. We'll probably get a local contractor to maybe demo, maybe Tommy Keene or other, to basically demo the fencing and the structure, and then just piece it all together ourselves.
gonna have to have a number.
Yes, I put,
So,
I put 150 in the budget. So when we approved the budget, we already got the quote from Blake for 30,000 for the pumps, the rails. It came in under what we actually thought for that.
Oh, that's
component.
not too bad.
That's
Yeah.
not too bad. I'm gonna try to set up a meeting with R&J Electric. Obviously, there's gonna be some lead time on some of these pieces, like the generator's gonna
Yeah.
probably be the longest lead time. We have Blake's quote. Our thought was we can get the pumps and the rails and start getting that rebuilt right now. So we were looking for an approval on at least getting that piece of it started. He's got a 6 to 8 week lead time. Kel, I don't know if you have the quote on that.
I made a copy of it because I was gonna bring it up right after you.
Okay,
That's the quote from Blake.
I have another copy if you guys want to see.
Plus, we have a laborer now that came from Blake Equipment that has saved us quite a bit of money over the past couple of years. And we told him we had if there were short of laborers, we would put our laborer in there to do whatever needed to be done. Because what they're doing is actually what he was doing for Blake Equipment.
Yeah, Wayne's been real good. He knows.
Is this just for the equipment or is this installation of equipment?
That's labor too. Right, I believe that this is labor.
Yeah, that's labor.
Yeah. Other than, what he left out, the
Yeah,
electrical by
yeah,
others.
How many kilowatt generators would take around that?
I think we have a 40 kW there.
40, yeah.
I think it's a 40 kW, so.
What's that, like 18 grand, 20 grand? At least.
I think it's north of
Yeah,
that, probably.
I bet you 40.
40,
I bet you 40.
Yeah.
so you got 30, 40.
I put 150, I pieced together a fence, the electrical, I didn't bring that in with me today, but
Well,
Do you think it'll be under that?
the 150, I think so. We'll have a much better handle when we talk to R&J and get a quote on his electrical end of it. And I want to get his feedback too on what we want to do.
So they're running the calculations for what size generator we needed.
We'll probably look,
as an electrician.
talk with the electrician and the generator people too. And I have some cookbook stuff, but that's not my forte, so I'll at least, take a look at it initially.
Marty, there's no problem with us spending the money. We don't have to go before the town. It's PUC money and it's in the budget, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, as long as we don't have to borrow anything from the taxpayers. It's fine.
No.
No. It's in this year's budget.
It's, yeah, I think I had.
Just basically, you're putting the whole project together.
Correct.
You're gonna be the GC on it.
Yeah, so I want to use RJ a little bit.
Yeah.
United Alarm, they've done several of these for us in terms of getting all the alarm pieces out of the control panel into their panel, cellular, and then getting it over, back to them for alarms. Whenever then we go with a future SCADA, it'll have to get updated in terms of a PLC and all that stuff, but we're not quite there yet with SCADA for wastewater.
All right, well, I was gonna bring something else up that you're gonna talk about, Kane Road Pump Station. Can we put a bypass in when we're doing this work?
Well, to be honest,
Yeah,
we don't need one.
No,
No, you know what? There's such a little flow in there. When we had an issue there, electrical issue there a couple months ago, we brought in Pembroke once a day. And they were able to take that tank down.
Yeah.
They were taking about 4,000.
this is the one over by Interstate Lumber.
No, this is the opposite one. This is out the dead end.
down the dead
Oh,
end.
yeah.
Was doing the addition there, the extended the road.
It's got limited flow compared to the. the
Yeah,
other one.
well, we're gonna put 4 new businesses down there.
Yeah.
We don't have no idea what the flow will be.
Well, that's true, but it is, right now, it's very low.
Yeah.
Those pumps run,
That's why I've never had a concern with the generator, because we have a generator issue there. It's the oldest one in the system. Because our feeling was, if anything ever happened, call Pembroke, suck it down once a day, and it actually, that's what we ended up doing, and there's no flow whatsoever at the weekend.
All right,
and the pumps run, very short amount of time over the course of a day. So the thought was get all the materials together and then once we
Yeah,
start to disassemble, that's when we'll have to
Yeah.
keep up with the pumping of it, but we kind of piece it all together in one
Yeah,
shot.
lead time here is 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8.
So we're talking 2 months, so. All
And
right,
that can be done before we get into the
Right.
whole generator part. The only thing we have to do is we have to add 2 more conduit lines from the wet well into the control panel. Because Homa needs an extra conduit.
Okay.
But that's something we can do ourselves, but they could come in, put in the rails, just without going on bypass. They can drop the 2 new pumps without going on bypass, and then also snake the wire through without bypass. You know, we may be down for a day.
Yeah,
But a day's not gonna
Yeah.
affect us.
And this will get us the new pumps even if, prior to getting all the electrical and the generator set.
It's really no different, Rich, than what we did out at Stony Hill 1. We did the pumps, we did the rails,
Yeah.
and we had a whole new control panel done. You know, the control panel is one day. It's just dealing with that little structure, trying to do it, so we want to take that structure right out of it.
all right, I'll make a motion that we approve purchasing the material and labor from Lake Equipment in the amount of $30,779 for the, what number was it, Clark?
Part 2, that would
Clark
be
Park 2 pump
Trowbridge.
station. Any other discussion? We always discuss everything before we put a motion on it.
Just nothing to do with this approval. What are our other generator sizes that we use in town? I mean, we standardize them. I mean, 40 kW sounds big
It does.
for a 10 horsepower.
Yeah, I want to have that relooked. Well, you got the 2 pumps, so I guess you're sizing it in case, if ever. I mean,
But you never run 2 at a time.
I know.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we have the existing KW one, everything.
It has something to do with the existing, try to get those pumps going.
You're going, yeah, because, yeah.
So it must be on your list, right? So you don't want to size that.
Yeah, we run a gamut. We have from 30s to, most of them are between 30 and less than 100.
Watts probably too, the head pressure that they got in the existing line to get those pumps going. Yeah, so.
One thought I had after we had the problem at Berkshire with the generator there was looking into, I'd have to budget for it for, next year perhaps, but a mobile generator that's adaptable,
Yeah,
with different, voltages, that could give us a high KW, and also then be able to handle, and then we have it on a trailer.
well, yeah, we probably should look at that, what the voltage is on all these.
Most of them are 460 3-phase.
Yeah, so.
We can buy the cables and have the cables already ready also with the temporary, trailer mounted generator. It might not be a bad idea.
All right, any other questions?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
And that's,
Okay, and we
that
can
was
get-
it for me.
We can get started on that. That's great. You want that back?
Was that mine?
That was
That's
Kelly's
fine.
copy.
That's fine, that's fine. I printed it up.
Okay, I'll keep it. Thank you. Okay, now Kelly.
Okay. Busy month. I don't even know whether to start with the bad first or start with the good first.
No, why don't you start with the good first?
The good first, all right. Well, Paul Street, on one of the pumps, we had to replace a coupler. Kovacs came in, they ordered it, they pulled the pump, put the coupler in, it started to vibrate real bad. At the same time, when the other pumps, we had a seal start to leak and it got a little bit worse, so we replaced the seal. The brand is called the Chesterton seal, but it's water cooled from the sewage, but sometimes the solids get in there and they rip them up. So we replaced that this past month and we took the old one out to be rebuilt. They'll put the same warranty on the rebuilt one. So Ball Street, those are the 2 things that we had happen. We had the highway department help us with clearing everything along the railroad tracks from the train station all the way down to where this last manhole is that we have to bypass. They came in there and they also, because we couldn't access the last manhole, They put in some drainage so we can actually drive out to it. And we can see it. The cattails down there are about 20 feet high. They also cleared on Fall Street to get into where the swamp is there too. So we're a lot closer for this project to the relining around the railroad tracks. We're in a better way now because we can actually see where we're going. We've been playing around with that for a couple of weeks trying to get in there. But as Tom said, we had a very good meeting with Metro North, and I think they're looking for a little in-kind help with some drainage in there, and they're willing to work with us. For what you hear about Metro North, we had a track supervisor, the general supervisor who lives here in town, which was a big help. We got that sorted out. Now, also at Fall Street, we put in money for a new pump to go with a submersible pump of Fight. Right now, I'm not even sure the brand now, but we wanna go and see a couple. We're gonna do this last year and we didn't really get to it, but we wanna see a couple of them in place. It's actually a submersible pump that is not submersible. The bottom line is, like this Chesterton steel I'm talking about, they don't have that. Plus, they have a new cutter design that we're not doing. It shreds the rags more than what we're doing now, where our pumps are getting clogged up. Now, my question to the commission is, Kovacs does all of our work over there. They know our system. They did plum trees for us. They've been working on our system right along. They're the ones that suggested the Fight pumps because they've seen such good luck with them. If I go to Wanda, the manager over there, and I say, look, we want a price, she's gonna say to me, is this gonna be a bid price or is this gonna be an actual price? Because that's gonna depend on what she's gonna give us for a number. I really don't wanna get into a bidding process with this. I think the thing to do is Kovacs, because they know our system, they're the ones that jump when we have to put the plan on bypass. They know exactly what size pumps, the head that they're dealing with when we're pushing the Danbury. I just want to know if I can go forward with saying, hey, Wanda, give me a price on the Flight pump versus the other pump. The salesman will be the guy that's going to take us to Flight and show us the pumps. But they're the people that, Kovac will be the people who install it. I don't want to get into this too deep with Wanda and then burn any bridges because I had to go to bid. What I'm asking the commission is, does this have to go to bid? I mean, we're talking, what do you think? We're talking $100,000, probably, maybe more. We don't know.
The last pump we replaced, was it 60? I think it was 60.
60 and then the labor.
I thought 60
You know,
was
that
installed,
included the labor. But
but I don't know
things are
about
going
the
up.
Flight pump.
And the problem with the pumps, they're probably gonna be 6 months out if we go with what we have, because they're not made in the United States. I think Flight, I'm pretty sure Flight is made in the United States.
Did you budget for it this year? Or this
We
is
did.
just-
We did. I forget, Tom, what, 150, I think.
Either 100 or 100. I think I put 100,000 in, but
I think Marty's the person to ask if we can do it to begin with. Are we able to do that, Marty?
What's your feeling, Marty?
I don't think it's a question of what our charter says or anything like that. I think it's just a question of financial sense, to be quite honest with you. I think if you've got it in the budget already and you're not going out to borrow the money and the monies that are coming in, you can do that without the bid. But the problem that I see is I just find it difficult to believe that the town of Bethel, anything over 50,000, they're asking to go out to bid. And you're talking about $150,000 and you're not going to go out to bid. The people who are involved here are also citizens of Bethel, and they should have the idea, know that what's happening is the best price is being put forward for what we can get. And I personally, as a taxpayer and a water and sewer user of Bethel, would have a problem in going out for $150,000 and not put it out to bid. That's my opinion. Legally, you're absolutely right. It can be done if it's in the budget.
I agree. I think it's a lot of money.
Can I make one suggestion on that? So the charter dictates for the town side 50,000. When it's under 50, what we normally do is go out and get a couple prices to make sure we're getting a good price.
Right.
So the suggestion then could be to have Kelly get Kovac's best price and see if you can get a price from somebody else. I understand your point of not wanting to burn the bridge.
Yeah.
But because it's not a bid, you don't technically have to take the lowest one. If Kelly came back to you and said, Kovac, who we've done a ton of work with, is at 110, Joe Schmo is at 108. I'd rather, for $2,000, I'd rather stick with her.
Yeah.
You know, but then I think, to Marty's point, you did due diligence on it.
I would have a hard time signing off on $100,000+
On one price.
without
Yeah.
someone saying, is this the best price?
Yeah, to sole source it, I hear you. The reason I would be okay is that history and that station, as critical as it is, and the work that Kovacs has done over the years. I don't necessarily want the low bidder coming in.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you do it in 2 phases where you just bid the purchase of the pump and then you hire them to install it? I mean, if they're so familiar with our system and we get the best price you can on purchasing the pump. And then, you know, I mean, the labor rates are gonna be the labor rates. I mean, I don't think we see that huge fluctuation.
Right.
You know, there's a standard rate. So maybe you just buy the pump and then have them install it unless, you know. Or maybe just call another company and don't let anyone know. Just get an idea in your head what it costs. You know,
Yeah.
They say it's 30,000, well, it's a much different number than 100.
and I'm not sure with Flight, like some manufacturers, you gotta buy the pump through their distributor.
Yeah.
And that's, you want a Flight pump, you're buying it from this guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Who's
So I-
Flight's competitors?
sorry,
Who's Flight's competitors?
well,
I would think Home would be, because we have Home and everything else, but I don't know what it is. I think this, whatever this cutter is for the racks, because that's our biggest issue right now.
Yeah.
It's something, I think that it's patented by Flight.
and the style of pump we
Everybody has
have.
competition.
Yeah.
Why would a bid price change their price? Though? I don't understand. I mean, you're either gonna give me your price or you're not. I mean, if it's a bid price, does it go up? I mean, I don't understand.
I don't know whether you're getting the prevailing rate, wages and stuff like that. I really don't know. But I was questioned by Wanda, one of the last.
I think she doesn't want to give us our price and then we go out to
Oh,
bid
sure, yeah.
and the competition then knows what price she has.
So the price isn't really gonna change. If
So-
these
so
ever went
should-
out to bid, they'll just bid it, sealed bid, and then we could look at it, right?
Yeah.
Is it a sealed bid? Like the competitors can't see it?
No, once it's
Or-
open, it's
Once
open.
it's
If
open.
you
Once
do
it's open.
a bid process, it's open.
But if you allow me just to get prices without doing the bid process. Is that fair? As long as I have.
You just go out and solicit a couple.
If we got
prices
3
from
quotes on a pump.
Yeah.
And then analyzed them from there.
Yeah.
And decided the Flight pump from Kovacs or the XYZ
them.
pump
You're
from
doing your due
Smith.
diligence by getting 3 prices.
Right.
I think to Brian's point, it makes sense, to maybe split the two. If you really want Kovacs
That
to
makes
do
a
the
lot of
work.
sense, yeah, I like that idea. But I would like to, well, I want to get a little more research on this flight. I want to talk to the people that have it in place.
Well, that's it. We wanted to go look at the Flight. Because they recommended it. They know what we're up against. Like those pumps, I forget is it Morse or I forget the pumps that we have. But I mean, since I've been here, you know, we've done those seals
Yeah, repeatedly.
multiple times.
And that's the idea of the sealed unit. So it's got clean, it's sealed unit, it's using like a fresh water on the bearings versus dirty water.
I guess we'll look further into Flight, who the reps are.
Putting it to bid, to be realistic, you might only get one bid. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, how many people are looking to install pumps on?
True, and like I
You know,
said,
You might only get one.
they probably have
Yeah.
territories, and if
You
the
know,
Flight
you might
pump's
only
getting
get one
shipped,
bid.
if the Flight pump is getting shipped to Bethel, then that's somebody's territory. None of the other Flight dealers are gonna bid on it.
All right.
All
well,
right,
let me
just
research
find
it.
out some more information. on
Okay.
that.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
That was still the good news.
Well, that's still
No,
good
I'm
news,
s-
Kelly.
I'm still
We're not
going on
on
the
bad news yet?
I'm still going on the light stuff. Well, the only good news I can tell you, we got rid of 3 surplus vehicles that went to bid. We got rid of our Colorado with rotted frame that was sitting rotting more over at Fall Street. We got rid of the Uplander that we're using for a service vehicle, and also a utility body that, or utility truck that we never use, it's only 2 wheels drive. Also, so good news, I think Tom may have brought it up. We finally got our truck after 13 months of waiting on it. That was the one that was up at the Chestnut Ridges.
Yeah.
Nice.
We did good. We, with whatever, well, they stuck by the price. So, and we come in for under 40 for a 1-ton pickup. So we do have that. Now, why I'm on the pickup part, we also allotted money, 20,000 from each side of the utility to replace the 2007 Colorado we have now. So I got a state bid from Jingles, I think it is.
Gingras.
Jingles, and they came in with the truck. I wanted the same truck at 2019, short bed, 4-wheel drive, half-ton pickup truck. Between 2019 and now, it went up $4,000. So I asked them to give me to include the toolbox, the safety lighting, the head rack, and the truck come in at $36,395. This was a quote on a Ford. We basically have all Fords with the exception of my truck right now. And I'd like to stay with it, and yes, it is a guaranteed state bid. You guys want to see what it consists of? It's like I say, it's basically the same truck that McCollum drives. So
This would be to replace the last of our, old vehicle fleet. It's a 2007, Cal?
This is in the
Yes.
budget too?
this
Yeah,
is in the
I
budget.
put
You said you
40,000.
got 20 from each
20
department.
Yeah,
from each
I
side,
put a
so we're
total
not
of
going
40.
over, we're not going over the 20.
How many, you have 7 vehicles or 8 vehicles?
One,
You
two,
have 5.
three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 vehicles, including Tom's. Right now, we have the one spare, the one plow truck. It's not in good shape, but I want to have it in case of an emergency, and it would be a spare truck for us. It doesn't owe us anything. It's got 182,000 miles on it. That's a 2006. And that's also got a plow on it.
That's when you're not, you only 8 people.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not trying to micromanage you at all. My only question is, why would you go with a 150 instead of a 250 or a 350?
Because we've got 2 1-tons now. We've got the truck that Chris Gazzola drives. It's an older truck. He likes it. It's set up just right for him. It's not a bad truck. It was the old fleet maintenance vehicle. We took that. Now that's our 1-ton. That's what we can put, if we have to put a tank for chemicals on, we can do it. It's got a fuel cell on it. And anything heavy duty. We just bought the 1-ton. So that's, again, chemicals, plowing, what have you. It's gonna hold up more than the 3/4 ton did. And my truck's a 1-ton. I just don't feel it's necessary to get a 3/4 ton with a bigger engine. The trucks don't carry heavy things. My biggest thing to have a truck is to have a 6.5-foot bed so we can throw all of our keys in the back on each side. And then a toolbox. I don't see the need for an 8-foot bed, and I really, for the price, the other trucks have been real good to us. Eddie Knapp's got a 2014. He's got a 2014 with 71,000 miles on it, no problem.
That's a half ton.
That's a half-ton truck also. My truck's a half-ton. I get the keys in it. I was in a jam because the frame rotted out of my truck, so I had to get something quick. We have the identical truck that Wayne Clark drives. It's got 14,000 miles on it, no issues. I just don't think we need that.
Fair enough, you explain.
I think he replaces them.
explained it.
The ones that have to plow
Fair
for us are the
Yeah.
ones he
And that's a
upsizes.
1-ton. I didn't even want a 1-ton, but that's what they spec'd out. So I said, if we can get it for that price,
Good
run it
stuff.
40.
You know, switch. 1-ton.
And this is already in the budget, so.
Correct.
Yes, it is. And it's only 20 on each side versus the 40 out of just water or sewer. All of our vehicles are split down the middle, Brian.
And the final price is $36,390.
Right, and that's with the toolbox and everything else.
Yeah, that's the upfit.
I make a motion that the purchase of the truck not to exceed $36,395.76, split equally between the water and sewer.
Second.
I think we discussed it before the motion again.
Another one.
Well,
I wish I could buy a truck for that price.
we're consistent.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just for the future.
Yeah.
So we can discuss it before. We can put a motion on it. Can this all be included in the package?
Yeah.
We're not gonna buy any more trucks, but in the future, if you got anything that you wanna talk about, let's
Okay,
have it
that's fine.
before the meeting, just so we can.
Yeah, we'll
look
put
it
it
over.
in the package.
Well,
So Kelly, if the truck was the good news, I'm still waiting to hear that.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
going to comment on that.
Now I'm
I
gonna
think
lead
a
into
lot
it.
of this
All right.
director's report and foreman's report should be written down in advance and given to us. Save us a whole lot of little scribble on the corners of the page.
Yeah, well,
Yes, no, it's a blank, I'm sorry.
Okay, so last Wednesday night, we lost one of our stations, Payne Road. It's 2008 station. Both pumps were from 2008, the original pumps. About 2-3 weeks ago, we had a power glitch, and something happened where we lost 2 phases. And we think that the pumps ran on 1 phase for some reason. The main buzz bars outside the building, both of them were shot. So we put new fuses in. 1 pump was bad. So that we're down to one pump because we're, of course, we're duplex. So Wednesday night, the other pump went down. So sent one of the guys out there, couldn't get it to go, kept on amping up real high. I think maybe a rotor went in that particular pump. So we got windings problems in one, and there's something with the rotor in the other one. So we went into emergency mode. We had Pembroke come out and set up a schedule, had them come and pump it down. They came out they didn't have to come out all night long, but they had to come out every few hours to pump the tank down. Got on the horn with Blake Equipment, who we got the quote from, told them our situation. I called right to Homa Pump, which is right in Ansonia. They said, let me get working on getting you a new pump. Let me see what I can find. They said, we thought we could get one within a week. So they scrambled, they found us a brand new pump. They said, okay, they had to do something. They had to cut one of the impeller. They had to do some work on the impeller. They had it for me yesterday morning at 9 o'clock. I went and I picked it up. We got it in. They're going to take the other 2 pumps and combine it to make one. They're backed up. It's going to be probably a couple of weeks before I can get this. So right now we're running on 1 pump. Everything's up and running. The pumps are so big that the lift we had, so I had to have someone come in with a crane because it wouldn't bring it up high enough. We got the other pump back in yesterday. Our guys wired it all up, saved us a ton of money without bringing somebody in and trying to schedule somebody. They've got it all wired up. The other 2, they're going to combine one. As soon as that's done, we're going to drop that in the other side. And the remaining 3rd pump, we're going to have it rebuilt and we're going to keep it in the plant. We only have one other station, that we have an extra pump for, and that's down at Berkshire. I reached out to Derby when all this went down because I'm on the WPCA in Derby and I know them quite well. They offered us 2 different pumps, but nothing had the horsepower to send it all the way up Payne Road to go back to Gravity. So, in a long story short, we ended up having Kovacs in there, pumping it down through the weekend. Of course, it had to be a holiday weekend.
Pembroke.
What did I say? Yeah, Pembroke, I'm sorry. But I don't know what Pembroke's bill is going to be, but we have a new pump. It was $15,000. I ordered that as an emergency. Tom was away, but I kept coordinating with him. And which I mentioned it to you and also Matt last week. So we were in emergency mode, quote unquote panic mode. but we got it all taken care of. And there was no bypass. We didn't have to report anything to the state. We were able to keep control of it. Our own guys took care of a lot, which years ago that, you know, with what was done, we couldn't have done without having a subcontractor come in. So, I mean, we are looking at a bill. I don't even know what it's gonna be. I know, I can guarantee you right now, 15,000 for the pump that we had to buy and install yesterday. But the guys did a real good job. They took care of business all through the weekend. They did it themselves. There's one concern with those two stations is there is not a bypass. And Paul Street never had a bypass before I came. We installed one. Plum Trees has a bypass, but these two major stations do not have one. There is a way of doing it. I was looking at it yesterday where we'd have to do a wet tap on the discharge line. And then we would have to bring in a pump, like a Godwin pump or something like that.
In the event of a problem.
In the event of a problem, right? I mean, we may never have a problem again, but never doesn't mean never. So,
I think it's a good idea to at least get a price on it. Let's see what the bypass is gonna
Alright.
cost.
all right. I mean, I know what we need to do. I know what we have to do. We can't put the station on bypass to cut out a piece of pipe and put in a section because we're gonna drain everything back from Payne Road down into the trench. There
Is
is,
there
you know,
a valve pit there?
there's no room in the two valve pits, but there's enough room between the outgoing pipe and the road where we can put it right on the station and jump from one into the other. But that's gonna be another priority that if, I don't know whether they're using all this rescue funds on something else in town, and maybe a good point where maybe we can install that through the, I don't know what it's called, American Rescue Act.
ARPA
Yeah.
funds.
But that's my downfall of the month. But like I said, I was real proud of the guys because they really did a good job. And kept-
It doesn't
kept
sound
everything
that
tight.
Yeah, yeah, you're really nervous. I mean, 15 grand and a
Well,
something pump. I mean,
Well, we still
For what good it happened,
we
that's
still
not
haven't
too
gotten the
bad.
bill from Pembroke. So that's good.
That's like.
Holiday weekend.
Holiday weekend, yeah,
So we went
around the clock.
Even if
pretty
it was
much.
Thursday to
Well,
Tuesday.
the good thing was they figured out they can pump it down at like 11 or 12
Yeah.
midnight. And we were good through like 6 a.m. And the other good, you know, we had gone out to all the stations and we measured inflows and what the pump outputs were. So, you know, I actually had that with me when I was away. I brought that file with me and we knew how many gallons per foot in the wet well and how much the inflow was like during the day, so.
We have also the holiday weekend, more people were
I
home
was
for that.
scared. You know what? It was scary on my end.
That wasn't that scary. We were.
But the last thing I'll say, when,
We're looking at maybe 40,000.
Maybe, I mean, say they charge you $1,000 a trip.
I'm thinking it might be
Free trips a day.
50, I'm thinking, you know, I don't know.
You think they'll
Well,
charge that much for the pump?
it's hourly. It's-
Well, here's the thing, if they pumped it every 2 hours, like in the morning peak, the guy's not going home.
Yeah.
He's pumping it out, he's dropping it off where we told him to drop it off.
It was 3 days,
No,
How
it
many
was
days?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
5 days.
and Tuesday, yeah.
6 days.
They usually, if I remember right, I think it's $250 an hour with the driver to do it.
We have
With
to-
the-
Yeah, I'm gonna have him come pump my tank for that price.
It's almost 5,000.
But he was able to, what he would do is go up to Terrace Drive off the beaten path.
We'll know when we
dump it
know.
there.
I'm gonna buy
Yeah.
a pump truck.
I looked at some other work he did, and I think I saw 350 for the truck.
I mean, there's no alternative.
All right, well, still, could have been a lot worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it definitely, and we didn't get into bypass, so there's nothing recorded.
Yeah, that was good.
We didn't have any backup in anybody's basement.
Right.
I will go on the pump.
And,
And
and,
also,
and Kelly's saying, talking about the guys we have, Wayne, who came from Blake Equipment, he's excellent with all aspects of putting these things back together. And Santos is an electrician. And Chris, you know, he just, you know,
coordinator.
he's good with our system and knowing what we're doing.
And with the heavy rains this weekend, no issues whatsoever. The only thing we had is we had a couple power glitches where pumps, you know, where the pumps didn't send an alarm, you know, we had to check them out. But other than that, with over 6 inches of rain, everything handled everything well.
job as always.
Okay. Anything else that comes before the
well,
commission?
We're doing all this work, just out of curiosity. We have a written lockout, and tag out procedure.
Not proper. I'm gonna be honest with you, not a proper output. I mean, we do have mocks there and we do communicate back and forth, but we don't have a true policy in place.
Because they'll hang you if you don't have a written lockout, tag out procedure.
Yeah.
And so
I think there's a generic one out there
Oh,
that
I'm
we
sure
could
there are.
adapt, yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to Tommy
Yeah,
tomorrow.
if we're doing more of the work ourselves.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Making a motion.
What are we doing about a PM program?
We gotta get ahead of the.
Yeah.
No. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear, oh, when we get done with all our emergencies, then start talking about
Yeah.
preventive maintenance. No, doesn't work that way.
Well, I had the guys going around to the sewer stations, giving me model numbers, makes and model numbers of different things. So I'm taking what you're asking for to heart. It's just a matter of spending the dedicated amount of time to do it all.
Well, you know, there is a lot of PM being done with putting chemicals into the tanks. I mean, we've got that down to a process.
I'm sure there is a lot.
Yeah.
But if you don't write it all down.
Documentation.
It's not
Yeah,
a program.
documentation. Just like,
They asked me if
You know,
they could go buy a 3-ring binder to put all that in this morning after all this, but
There you go.
no, but it's coming around. I mean, I got 3 real good guys on the sewer side that really care. You know, not saying the other guys don't, but I got 3 good guys and they're documenting everything. They really are.
Motion to adjourn.
Good, thank you.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll start with the football season. Right.